right? For those of you who are watching this later, this is October the 2nd, 2020, and this session is for the course called PIN233, Section 2. I'm going to start sharing again, this time including the sound, the Kahoot page, the Kahoot website, right? I was lucky before. Let's see if I can get lucky now. Yes. The classic version. And the pin is 1898458. 1898458. And we have Kate. And Harry Aaron, Ale or Ale, Ignacia, Mr. Obama, welcome to the session. We're honored by having you here. Macarena, we're about to start. Danny, Val, Pasi. All right, here we go. The word is right there. Congratulations to the ones that were made it to the podium, right? Let's see if I can go to the game, and let's leave this section. And I think I'm sharing the same Kahoot activity, but we're looking at the answers now, so we can discuss them in order to provide some feedback. Are you seeing the same Kahoot website that I'm seeing? It says lexical stress.
Yeah.
Yes? Alrighty, so the first statement says I'm reading the first one, you're reading, I'm asking some of you to read the following statements, right? Most two-syllable nouns and adjectives are stressed on the first syllable. Which is true, right? Think about, for example, in the image, we have the word jacket. Jacket. Jacket has two syllables. It's a noun. It's a two-syllable noun, and it has the first syllable is the one that carries the stress, right? Jacket. Teacher, right? Teacher. Knowledge. Cottage. Table. All of these two-syllable nouns are stressed in the first element. Adjectives. Heavy, for example, heavy is a two-syllable adjective stressed on the first syllable. Okay, so this is sort of a general rule. Whenever you have a two-syllable noun or a two-syllable adjective, stress the first syllable, not the second. Okay. The next one, I'm going to ask someone's help in the room, and I'm going to ask Angela Castro, 01. Angela Castro, are you here? That you can please read the statements here.
The question, excuse me?
Yes, everything, the questions and the options, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
what do these adjectives have in common? Clever, slender, and present. The first one, the second syllable is unstressed. The first syllable is CCB, CC. The first syllable is closed, and they have two syllables.
Okay, thank you so much, Angela. And as you can see, the first, the third, and the fourth statements are correct. And the first one is not correct. Let's focus on the second one, the blue option. First syllable is CCVCC. So this is a heavy syllable composed by a nucleus and a branching onset and a branching coda. Branching onset or branching coda means that there are two or more consonant sounds making up this two parts of a syllable, right? And if we see the first syllable, common, the first syllable does not have this structure CCV because you have C And you have V. You have a consonant and a vowel sound immediately. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong word. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Clever. Clever has CC, V, right? And then C, but then we have a vowel sound that does not appear to clever. So if it doesn't appear to clever, then the statement is not applied to all of them, right? So therefore it's false. I'm sorry, I was looking at the other word. The first statement, the one in red, with the triangle, the second syllable is unstressed. Clever, slender, present. In all of them is the first syllable stressed, and the second one is unstressed. Therefore, the red option is correct. The yellow option, the first syllable is closed. The first syllable is closed. Clev, slend, press, all of them end in a consonant sound. As you remember, whenever you find a syllable ending in a coda, in a consonant sound, right? We call them closed. And they have two syllables, clever, slender, present. They have two vowel sounds, therefore there are two syllables, okay? So the only statement which is not, which doesn't apply to, in this case, is the second one. The blue option is not correct. All of the other ones are correct. Number 3. For this, I'm going to ask Carla Trujillo to read aloud this slide, please. This section, this item. Thank you.
Words ending in C, T, F, and G, such as democracy, and geology, are stressed on antepenult. I don't know how to pronounce that. Penultimate syllable.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Exactly. Antepenultimate syllable. A very complex word to pronounce, right? We have ultimate, which is the last one, ultimate. Then we have penultimate, which is the previous one, and antepenultimate, the next one, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3, the third one. So if we apply this to democracy, C would be the ultimate, Kura, the penultimate, and Ma, the antepenultimate, democracy. So for this one, it works. The stressed syllable is the antepenultimate. And for geology, G would be the ultimate, right? L would be the penultimate, and geology, would be the antepenultimate, geology. So for the next one, it also works. So yes, for words ending in any of these suffixes, such as democracy and geology, the stressed is the antepenultimate syllable. If we count from right to left, is the third one. 1, 2, 3. Democracy. Geology is the third one, counting from right to left. That's the antepenultimate syllable. Okay, so far so good. Any comment or questions, please interrupt me at any moment so we can discuss the specific question that you might have, all right? Carolina Nestrosa, would you mind reading this section, please?
For compound nouns, the stress is on the first part. It's true. They said there.
Exactly. It is true. For compound nouns, the stress is on the first part. Whenever you think about compound nouns, try to remember an example, all right? I always remember, I don't know why, greenhouse. Always remember greenhouse. I don't know why. A blackbird, right? In the case of greenhouse, that is a compound noun made up of two words, right? Greenhouse, and it's a stress on the first syllable. If I stress it on the first syllable, I make it a compound noun, and I refer to the place where the vegetables are grown. If I move or shift, right? If I shift the stress to the other element and I say greenhouse, I refer to any house which has been painted green. So that's important in terms of which element in this, whenever I get these two next to each other, which one is the one I'm going to stress? If I stress the first one, I'm making it a compound noun. If I stress the second, it is not a compound noun, but it's just one noun being qualified by an adjective. A greenhouse could be a red house, a greenhouse, a red house, a brown house. Okay, but in order to be the place where vegetables are grown, vegetables, herbs, plants are grown, I have to stress the first element. So greenhouse, okay? So in general, compound nouns are stressed on the first element and not the second one. All right, that's the explanation for number 4. Please, if it's not clear, if you have doubts, at any moment, interrupt me, all right? Catalina Toro, could you please read the next one, please? Number 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bad-tempered and old-fashioned are two compound adjectives stressed on the second syllable. And it is true.
And it's true, exactly. Exactly. They are compound adjectives. You can tell because of the hyphen, right? Bad-tempered and old-fashioned. So bad-tempered is a compound adjective, right? Old-fashioned is a compound adjective, right? The hyphen is very, very clear in that sense, all right? And these compound adjectives are stressed on the second syllable. Bad being the first one, tempered the second one. Bad-tempered. Old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. Okay? Or if you prefer, whenever you have a compound adjective, you stress the second element on the first syllable. Tempered. The second element on the first syllable. Fashioned. Okay? Bad-tempered, old-fashioned. Okay? Now, this is what happens with compound adjectives. Now, in the following exercises, we're going to see that sometimes this rule is bended, right? This rule changes a little bit depending on the position of these compound adjectives. If it's used with a predicative position or a attributive position in a sentence. We're going to see that in the following examples, right? But in general, these compound adjectives are stressed. They are stressed on the second syllable, isolated, right? Always on the second syllable or on the first syllable of the second item, the second element. Okay, that's sort of a general rule, a general rule. Let's take a look at the next exercise, and we can ask Aaron to read the next exercise, please. Aaron, would you mind?
Yes.
Thank you.
In terms of lexical stress, there is a stress shift here. Japanese. Japanese. And
Teacher?
teacher. Okay, so yes,
Yes.
teacher.
All
the
right.
answer is true.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Aaron. So in terms of lexical stress, as Aaron read, there is a stress shift. There is the shift is moved to a different syllable, right? That's a stress shift, basically a different placement of the stress. So in order to know which syllable we need to stress, we look for the primary stress. At the beginning of the first transcription, we see the secondary stress at the bottom, right? And we see the primary stress right before the last syllable. Japanese, Japanese. right? We know that whenever we use this suffix, right? Because I guess the original word is Japanese, this suffix "is" attracts the stress. Japanese, Senegal, Senegalese, Portugal, Portuguese. Okay, so this suffix, right, attracts the stress. Legal, legalese. Okay, it's a suffix that has this particular feature. It attracts the stress towards the specific syllable, the suffix, right? Now, since English has a very rhythmical pattern going from, because it's a lexical stress language, right? And as a lexical stress language, in a word, you always find one syllable which is stressed. And the next one cannot be stressed because it goes from stressed and stressed, and stress, stress and stress. Or let's look at this from a different perspective. There are different strong beats, stress, right? Strong beats, right? And there are weak or weaker beats in between, right? So you have a stressed syllable, and in between this one and the next stressed syllable, you can put several weak syllables. It could be 1, 2, or 3 before the next strong beat, before the next stressed syllable. Okay, so as Japanese ends in stressed syllable, Japanese, right? And the next word starts with a stressed syllable, as you may notice, right? Teacher, teacher. If you say Japanese teacher, it doesn't follow the very consistent rhythmic pattern of English, going from one stressed syllable to an unstressed, right? Like the dum, the dum, the dum, the dum, like that, right? So Japanese teacher is not possible. In general terms, there is a shift, a movement of this primary stress to the first syllable. So instead of Japanese, we get Japanese, Japanese teacher, Japanese teacher. Okay, so the stress shift occurs whenever, for example, in this word, like Japanese, you have the final syllable stressed, and then the following word contains also a stressed syllable. You cannot find stressed and stressed syllable. So that's why in this case, the first word, needs to shift the stress towards the initial syllable. So Japanese becomes Japanese teacher, Japanese teacher. And it's not the only case, all right? Think about words ending in teen, for instance, 13, 14, 15, 16, etc., etc. The stress falls on the last syllable, right? 13, 14, 15. But what happens when you place a noun which has the first syllable stressed, like students or people, for example, children, okay? 13 people, 13 people. You take the stress from 13, which goes at the end, and you place it at the beginning. So instead of saying 13, you say 13. And then you say 13 people attended the meeting. 13 people, 13 people were at the reunion, right? So 13 becomes 13 if the noun placed after, right, has the first syllable stressed. It's not necessary if you are this stress shift if the noun that you are using is not stressed on the first element. As we saw in one of the previous exercises, in general, two-syllable nouns, right, are stressed on the first syllable. Now, if you put a noun which has more than two syllables, we may have we may not have the case, right? So this happens only whenever you have one word like Japanese or 15 that have a final syllable stressed, and then if you place a noun which has the first syllable stressed, that's when stress shift happens. If the noun, for example, does not have the first syllable stressed, the stress shift does not take place. Okay, it's only a matter of keeping this rhythm of stress and stress, stress and stress, right? That's why English is called a lexical stress language. Not only English, but many other languages. If you remember, at some point we talked about lexical stress or stress-timed languages, and we talked about syllable-timed languages. The one that placed the same amount of emphasis or degree of emphasis in every single syllable, right? Not the case of English. Please, any comments, any questions, all right? Let me know, please. We've got number 7, and maybe Constanza Ramirez, could you help me out with reading aloud this exercise, please? Constanza Ramirez. Okay, it was too big for the screen. Constanza does not seem to be available at this moment. Daniel Duque, are you here? So you could read the exercise number 7.
Blackbird and greenhouse are stressed on the second element. False.
Perfect. Perfect. Because it's a blackbird and greenhouse, right? Excellent. The next one, Guillermo Martinez, are you here? So you could read the exercise aloud? Problems with the microphone, Guillermo? Am I recording, by the way? Yes, I am. All right. Javiera Leon, would you be so kind to read aloud this exercise, please?
Yes. Understand and overflow are stressed on the first element. It's false.
Exactly. Understand, overflow, right? Understand.
Overflow.
Yeah, overflow.
Okay.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Understand, overflow. What do they have in common, these two words, or two, what are they? Understand, overflow. What part of speech do you think they are?
There are verbs.
They're verbs, right? Exactly. And what do you have in common, these two verbs, structurally speaking? Take a look at the chat box. Chat box. Exactly. Thank you, Guillermo. A prefix. A prefix. They use a prefix, under and over, right? And I guess these two are sort of prepositions, right? Under, understand, over, overflow. So whenever we are attaching these prepositions to a verb, we choose to place the emphasis or to make more prominent the second part of the word, right? The verb, understand, overflow, right? Not overflow. So that's something that we need to pay attention, that we're not stressing the first part of these verbs, right? Which look like a preposition, but the other part, the second part, the verb. The next exercise is number 9. Talks about where to place stress. Katia Sotomayor, do you mind reading this exercise aloud, please?
Okay. The word television is stressed on the first syllable.
All right, thank you so much. Could you read it aloud, please? Again, sorry, my headset or internet connection. I don't know which one.
Okay. The word television is stressed on the first syllable.
Okay, thank you so much. Excellent. The word television is stressed on the first syllable. Exactly. Television. 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 No, right? Television. Television. Excellent. First syllable. Excellent. Thanks so much. Let's take a look at the next ones. I'm going to go faster. For compound adjectives, the stress is on the second part. True. Compound adjectives. Remember, old-fashioned, right? And but tempered. The stress goes on the second element, the second part, right, of the adjective. So it's true. 11. In the sentence, there's a misprint in this document. The bolded word is, and the answer for number 11 is on the first syllable. In the sentence, there's a misprint. This misprint is one of those verbs in which stressing one syllable changes the part of speech. Misprint is a noun. Misprint is a verb. Let me show you a website that I have here. You should be, I think it's, no, it's not that one. This one. Are you looking at a website that says contract and contract, shift and stress?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Alrighty, so here we have contract, contract, permit, permit, record, record, conduct, conduct, etc., etc., etc. All right, it's a long list of words in which the syllable you decide to make more prominent changes the part of the speech you are using. Okay, so it's very important.
Teacher.
To... Yes, sir.
Can you give us the link of
Absolutely.
that page, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for the request. In the chat box, going.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Carlos, for the request. It's right there in the chat box. And okay, so misprint is one of those words, right, in which it's key to remember which element, which part or which syllable of the word needs to be stressed or needs to be made more prominent, right? Misprint is the noun, right? So it's a sort of mistake, a typo, right? A mistake in the document. And misprint is the action. So in this case, the correct answer is the yellow one, the circle, first syllable. Is the first syllable, right? Because of the context, right? Because there's a misprint. If you place an article before a word, and it makes sense, like the misprint or a misprint, it is a noun, right? What's the other test? Sorry, I was closing the door. The other test to know if a word is a noun or not, try to count it, right? 1 misprint, 2 misprints, 3 misprints, 4 misprints, right? It's like counting, I don't know, 1 flower, 2 flowers, 1 shoe, 2 shoes, 3 shoes, all right? Whenever you can count, or you can place an article before a word and it makes sense, it is a noun, right? So in this case, misprint is a noun. So, and besides that, it also has 2 syllables, and usually for 2-syllable nouns, it's the first element, the first syllable, the one which is stressed. Okay. Here, there's a mistake that I need to take responsibility of because it might be conducive for a mistake on your part. So it's my mistake because the word pedagogy is stressed on the first syllable. I am studying English pedagogy at UCM. Pedagogy. You are studying English pedagogy, right? Now, the adjective pedagogical is stressed on a different syllable, right? Pedagogical. So the only options that would be correct there are the yellow and the green. Pedagogical. The last syllable, though, is an unstressed syllable, pedagogical. In an unstressed syllable, you, in general, use a schwa, pedagogical. So the only option should be the last one, the one in green. Now, there is a missing dot here indicating the syllable boundary. The syllable boundary should be placed in between k and the schwa. Okay, that's my mistake. Between k and the schwa, there should be a dot here indicating that there is an additional syllable here. I mean, there's one final syllable, al, schwa and al, okay? So pedagogy, stressed on the first syllable, pedagogical in the third syllable, okay? Keep that in mind because what are you doing? Where are you studying? I'm studying English pedagogy at UCM, not I'm studying English pedagogy, okay? And pedagogical strategies, right? This is one of the most common mistakes in general. I guess we make a transfer from Spanish. Next one, 13. What do the words ambition, curiosity, and sufficient have in common? And the stress falls on the syllable before the suffix. Ambition, ambi, and the suffix is shon or yon, right? Curiosity, ity is a suffix, and sufficient, ent is the suffix. So before the suffix, we have the stressed syllable. They have 3 syllables, ambition, yes, sufficient, yes, but curiosity has 4. So the first is not correct. The first syllable is open. In order for a syllable to be open, it doesn't have to have a coda, no consonant after the vowel sound. And in the word ambition, has a consonant sound right after the nucleus, right after the vowel sound. So this one is closed. So this one does not apply to every single word. So incorrect. And the last one, there is no schwa in any of the words. That's almost impossible because the schwa is omnipresent. If you have two, for example, we have ambition, curiosity, and sufficient. They have 3 or 4 syllables. In a 3 or 4 or 5 syllable word, you will always find a schwa, right? Because of this, of English being a lexical stress language, you always go from a stressed syllable to an unstressed syllable. And in an unstressed syllable, you most likely find a schwa. So no schwa in any of these words, that's impossible, all right? That's impossible. Ambition, shen, there at the end you have a schwa, right? So not possible. And that's the end of of the activity of the feedback session. Is there any comment? Is there any question? Anything that was not clear?
No, everything is clear, I think.
Okay. Let's do something, all right? If you may think about the question later, and if you have questions about any of the topics covered during this first part of the session, let's open the second part of the session after the break with your questions, all right? If no questions are asked at the very beginning of the second part, we're going to start with the content called strong forms and weak forms. Okay, strong forms and weak forms. That's for the second part of this of today's lesson. All right. So I'm going to stop recording now, and we're going